Okay, good morning, guys. We are starting section 4.2 today, which is slope-intercept form. We did cover this a little bit last year as well, so let's kind of go over. Slope-intercept form is the main form for a linear equation. See, frequently written in slope-intercept form, and that formula is y equals mx plus b. And the name in its slope-intercept helps you because the m is always your slope and the b is your y-intercept, or what I affectionately refer to as the beginning point. You always plot this point first when you are graphing, if you're going from the equation to a graph. All right, so we're wanting to when we're given the slope and the y-intercept, write the equation in slope-intercept form. What that pretty much means is plug in the numbers where they belong. So it gives me the slope, that's m equals 2, the y-intercept, that's the b equals -1. That looks like a 7. And we plug it in to our y equals mx plus b formula. So we're going to have y equals 2x, and you have to have the x minus 1. Or if you want to write it as y equals 2x plus -1. Both of these are acceptable. Normally, you'll see it written in this form here. Next example, we're plugging them in. So we would have y equals -3/5 x, and make sure that that x is separate and not underneath the fraction bar. Okay, make sure that that x does not look like it's underneath the fraction bar because that is different. Plus 4. And moving right along, how do we get the equation if we're given a graph? So the first thing we have to do is identify the slope and the y-intercept. Change colors real quick. And then you write the equation. So I'm given 2 points, which remember to find the slope, that's rise over run, or the change in y over the change in x. I think it's easier to just count. So I've got 1, 2, 3 is my rise, 1 is my run. So I'm going to have 3 over 1, which equals 3. And then the b is where it crosses the y-intercept. Okay. So let me add that back up here. Y-intercept is where crosses y-axis. It's where it crosses the y-axis. That is what's the y-intercept, where it intercepts the y-axis. So that's going to be at this point right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is b. So my y-intercept is, and that's actually at a -4 because it's below 0. So that's -4. So now we plug in and I have y equals 3x minus 4 as my answer. Okay. Oh, couldn't see that very well. I apologize. Okay. Next, number 8. First things first is my slope. So I'm going to, this I can tell right off. If I look at it, this is going downhill. So I know it's going to be negative. So I can go ahead and put my negative sign. And now I'm just worried about my numbers. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I want to get level. So that's a -6. Move this over a little bit. So I'm going to have a -6 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, we always have to simplify. So this is going to simplify to -3/2. And now what's the y-intercept? That's this right here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's a +7 because it's above the y-axis. So now my equation is y equals -3/2 x plus 7. And that's the first half. This was the slope-intercept form. Now we're going to talk about standard form, which is just a different form to write the equation in. Standard form is also used pretty frequently, but the y equals mx plus b is more common. And standard form is ax plus by equals c. Okay? And a few things to remember with this is most of the time you want the a is positive and rarely have fractions or decimals. They can, but normally you work those out to where it's not that way. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is rearranging these. So the big thing to pay attention to here is we solve for y. You solve for y is the way you think about it. You're just solving an equation. So when I look at this, what do I have to do to get the y by itself? How are they connected? By addition. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. You want to put the x variable first when you rewrite this. This zeroes out, and I now have y equals negative 2x plus 3. And then you want to, so we rewrite the equation and then identify the slope and the y-intercept. So from here, what's in the m spot? Because this matches up with y equals mx plus b. So I look to see what's in the same spot. And we have m equals negative 2 and b equals 3. So my answers are the equation y equals negative 2x plus 3 and m equals negative 2 and b equals 3. So now let's do another one. Okay, because they're not going to always be as simple where the y is already by itself partially. So solving this equation, it's added, so I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Notice I don't put them one underneath another because they're not like terms. Now I have 5y equals negative 4x minus 30. And I have to get the y by itself. It's connected by multiplication, so I'm going to undo that by dividing. I have to divide everything by 5. So it's not just one, it is both on this side that's divided by 5. And I end up with y equals, and leave it as the fraction because I can use this to graph, negative 4/5. The negative doesn't have to go in the top. It just wouldn't, it doesn't make sense for it to go in the bottom. Okay. Minus, oh, I forgot the x. Don't forget the x because that makes it wrong. You have to have the x in here. Minus 6. And now I pull out my slope and my y-intercept. So I have m equals negative 4/5 and b equals negative 6. Because remember, in the formula, it's y equals mx plus b. So I have to think of this as plus a negative 6 so that I can see that that's a negative 6 that I'm pulling out. So my final answers are the equation and where I pulled out the slope and the y-intercept. And I think we have one last section to talk about a little bit. If we're given a graph. So if we're given a graph, hint, and it's usually like this when it's multiple choice, okay? You've got to convert to slope-intercept form, which means solve for y. So I've got to solve each one for y first, okay? So I'm going to end up with 3y, because I'm going to subtract x. So I'm going to have 3y equals negative x minus 6. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And I end up with y equals negative 1/3 x minus 2. Then we've got, so this was A. B is going to be negative 3y because I'm going to subtract x. Subtract x, I'm going to end up with negative 3y equals negative x plus 6. Divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3. Yeah. Okay, and I get y equals 1/3 x minus 2. And then we have C. So I'm going to subtract 3x, subtract 3x, and I end up with y equals negative 3x minus 2. Subtract 3x, subtract 3x. This is D. Trying to make the pen run. And this is where it can be thrown. That's a minus y, so that means this is going to be a negative y. The y is not by itself yet. Minus 3x plus 2. To divide everything by a negative 1, which is going to give me y equals 3x minus 2. And now we've got to figure out which one is the correct answer by looking here. So I'm going to pick 2 points on the grid. I'm going to have 1, 2. So my slope is rise 1, 1, 2, 3. So m equals 1/3. And my b is negative 2, which means my equation is going to be y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Which one matches? B is the same thing. So this is my answer choice. So yes, for these multiple choice questions, there is work to be shown. All right, your assignment for today is to finish the notes pages, and then tomorrow you'll do the classwork homework. Have a great day.